Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to give you the essential knowledge you need, drawn directly from the sources you share, so you can be well-informed fast.
And today, we're diving into a field where there is, well, zero margin for error.
Absolutely. We're talking about aerospace materials analysis. You send us sources on a really specific challenge in advanced manufacturing.
It's the ultimate high-stakes environment. We're talking about the very foundation of how we innovate in aircraft and spacecraft. Every single part,
Every single one.
from a high-pressure turbine blade to a tiny microscopic protective coating, it has to maintain its integrity under impossible conditions. The entire industry is built on trusting these materials.
And that's the core of the problem, isn't it? The source material makes it so clear that that trust is starting to get shaky as these next-gen materials get more and more complex.
Hyper-sophisticated.
Right, engineered down to the atomic level. The traditional tools we've always used to analyze them just can't keep up. They're becoming insufficient.
The engineering world is basically outrunning the verification world. It's a huge gap.
So that's the setup. A fascinating challenge and a very specific solution we need to unpack today. Our focus is on bridging that validation gap, and we'll be looking specifically at the Atlas Apex MicroXRF from IXRF Systems.
Right.
Our mission for this deep dive is really clear. We need to understand the three big macro forces that are driving this urgent need for microscale verification. And then we'll get into the details of exactly how this type of technology provides the quantitative certainty that aerospace engineering demands for both safety and innovation.
And that word certainty is everything. It's non-negotiable when you think about the costs of failure, both economic and, of course, human. The whole goal is to make decisions about a material's fitness with total confidence.
All right, so let's start there. Let's unpack the problem. It really sounds like we're building jets with materials that are fundamentally outrunning our ability to check them. So what are these three big pressures creating that verification gap?
Well, these three forces, and its complexity, supply chain dynamics, and sustainability, they're all hitting the industry at once. It's creating this perfect storm that demands something new.
Which is?
Non-destructive, microscale certainty. Just being accurate isn't enough anymore.
Okay, let's take that first one. Material complexity. This sounds like where the, science fiction level engineering is happening.
Exactly. The first force is just the sheer sophistication of the alloys and compounds we're using now.
Things like
Titanium aluminides, super light but really hard to work with. You've got your nickel-based superalloys for the hot sections of engines, ceramic matrix composites or CMCs, and then critically, those multi-layer thermal barrier coatings, the TBCs.
Okay, so those coatings are the things that keep the engine from, well, melting itself.
They're the difference between an engine running efficiently for 30 years and failing on its very first test run.
So when we talk about these advanced materials, what's the specific problem they introduce that the older tools just completely miss? It can't just be about identifying the elements, right?
That's the key distinction.
Yeah.
Exactly. The problem isn't the bulk chemistry, the overall recipe. It's the microstructural gradients.
Gradients. What does that mean in this context?
Think of it this way. When you weld or heat treat a really sophisticated metal, or when you layer a coating onto it, the material's composition often changes. And it changes subtly, but critically, across a distance of just a few microns.
A few microns.
Yeah.
So about the width of a human hair.
Precisely. We're talking about a slow change over a tiny distance. It could be a controlled diffusion zone, or it could be a kind of contamination.
And if that gradient isn't perfect.
If that gradual shift in composition at the interface isn't exactly right, it directly impacts performance, fundamentally.
Yeah.
If the silicon content in a superalloy varies at a grain boundary, suddenly its fatigue life is shot. If the diffusion zone between a coating and the base metal is irregular, that coating will just spall off under heat. If you can't map those microgradients with real numbers, you are, for all intents and purposes, guessing at the component's true lifespan, and that is a massive engineering liability.
That makes the challenge so clear. A tiny variation at an interface you can't even see could cause the whole system to fail down the line. Okay, let's move to the second driver, the supply chain.
Right, so the second force is the globalization of it all. Aerospace companies are sourcing high-value parts, raw materials, specialized coatings from a much, much wider pool of vendors now, all over the world.
So the speed and reliability with which they have to authenticate what's coming in the door has gone up exponentially.
Exactly. You need validation right at the front door, not 3 weeks later when the part's already halfway into an assembly.
You can't slow down production waiting for a destructive test from some central lab.
You just can't. And the risk of getting non-conforming stock or even just subtly misalloyed stock is way higher. You have to have rapid in-house tools to make sure that the superalloy you ordered from vendor A is chemically identical to the one from vendor B.
And I imagine that ties directly into the third force, which is the big push for sustainability and lightweighting. That's driving so much innovation right now.
It is a huge future-facing pressure. I mean, everyone is focused on reducing weight, improving fuel efficiency, cutting that carbon footprint.
Yeah.
And that means engineers are constantly pushing the envelope with brand new alloys.
And critically, using more recycled materials.
Yes, and using recycled inputs is a big part of that.
Which sounds great for the environment, but it must introduce a massive amount of uncertainty when you're dealing with these zero-tolerance superalloys.
It introduces huge analytical unknowns. I mean, massive risks. If you introduce, say, trace amounts of copper or lead, which are common contaminants in recycled scrap into a melt for a sophisticated nickel superalloy.
That's bad.
It's very bad. Those elements can segregate at the grain boundaries and dramatically accelerate failure. So you need extremely rigorous, ultra-sensitive QA/QC to guarantee that these new, lighter, often recycled content materials will still deliver for decades. You have to guarantee purity at an almost atomic level.
So just to sum up the problem, the materials are so complex, the failures are now microscopic, the supply chain is too diverse for slow, old-school lab testing, and the sustainability push is introducing new contamination risks.
And that's where the old tools, especially the ones that require destructive sample prep, just fall down. They can't give you that non-destructive microscale certainty you need.
Which brings us to the technological answer. The Atlas Apex MicroXRF. It was basically developed to solve this exact problem.
It was. It takes the established science of X-ray fluorescence and just pushes it to these incredible new spatial limits, combining that with broad elemental coverage and real quantitative rigor.
Okay, so let's get into those technical capabilities. You mentioned spatial resolution. What makes a precision of 5 to 10 micrometers so important? How does that compare to what engineers were using before?
Well, in the past, you really had two extremes. You had bulk XRF, which gives you, the average chemistry of a pretty large area,
Kind of a blunt instrument.
a very blunt instrument. Or you had highly precise but destructive methods like using a SEM with EDS. SEM gives you amazing resolution, sometimes even sub-micron, but it's often slow for mapping big areas. And it almost always requires you to cut the sample up, polish it, put it in a vacuum.
So you're altering the sample.
You're altering it. If you wanted to test a thermal barrier coating, you'd have to literally slice off a tiny cross-section to see how the elements diffused. You're sacrificing a piece of a very high-value part.
Okay, so how does MicroXRF change that equation?
Well, the key capability here is getting spot sizes down to a really remarkable 5 to 10 micrometers. That's on par with the size of a single large grain in an alloy.
And that resolution lets you do what exactly?
It allows for high-definition, full-field elemental mapping.
So you're not just getting a single data point, you're getting a high-res chemical image of the material. What does that chemical image show you that a bulk analysis would just completely miss?
It eliminates all those critical microstructural features we were just talking about. Phase segregation, where elements clump together in bad ways, coating uniformity. It lets you precisely measure diffusion zones, map out inclusions, find anomalies. These are all the root causes of failure.
But that resolution is kind of useless if the process destroys the $20,000 part you're testing. How big a deal is the non-destructive aspect here?
It's the core commercial selling point for high-value components. A single turbine blade can cost $50,000 to make. Being able to analyze a finished part, a complex shape that's been through every manufacturing step without harming it, that's revolutionary. It lets you validate the component as it is right before it goes into service.
Which cuts down on scrap and rework risk immensely.
Dramatically.
Okay, so non-destructive imaging is huge. But for certification, the data has to be, quantitatively sound. You can't just say, I think the nickel content looks high. You need hard numbers. How does the system ensure that level of trust?
That comes down to some really superior engineering in the data capture stage. They use these high-flux X-ray sources.
And for the engineer on the factory floor, what does high flux mean?
It means two things. One, exceptional count rates, which means the analysis is incredibly fast, and 2, very low detection limits. It means they can find those critical trace contaminants, the copper or lead we mentioned, even if they're only there at parts per million levels.
So high flux equals faster detection of smaller amounts, but I have to imagine the weird shape of a 3D printed part must make getting accurate numbers really hard because
Uh,
of how the X-rays hit the surface.
And that is where the software magic comes in. This is what elevates it beyond just being a simple detector. They use this sophisticated proprietary algorithmic correction.
So the software corrects for those weird angles and shapes in real time.
Yes, exactly. The X-ray signal is affected by the sample's matrix, the bulk chemistry, and its geometry. The software corrects for those variances. It's essentially ensuring that the data from a complex 3D printed strut is just as accurate as data from a flat sheet of metal.
And that's what makes it trustworthy for something like an additively manufactured part.
Precisely. It gives you quantitative, traceable data that engineers can genuinely rely on for both their internal QA and, for the regulators.
Right. Let's talk about that. In a high throughput environment, a factory, efficiency is everything. How does putting this kind of analysis into the workflow change things?
It dramatically shifts the paradigm.
Hmm.
First, the speed of the mapping just reduces bottlenecks. Instead of materials sitting in a lab for days, you get answers in minutes. Second, you can automate it. You can set up workflows, queue up dozens of parts, and just let it run unattended.
And we keep coming back to the biggest cost saving of all.
Zero destructive preparation. That's the real financial leverage. No time wasted cutting up samples, no specialized lab equipment for mounting, and zero risk of scrapping a component that could be worth 6 figures just to get a chemical check. It turns chemical imaging from this slow, expensive, centralized thing into a high-throughput quality tool.
Okay, so let's pull back from the lab and go to the boardroom. What does this all mean for the big picture? How does having this level of material confidence translate into a real strategic advantage?
It strengthens competitiveness across the entire life cycle of the materials. It gives engineers and executives verified data they can actually trust for compliance, for cross-vendor validation, everything.
The first impact has to be in R&D and innovation. I mean, if you get feedback instantly, you could cut years off a development process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
By detecting those microscale variations earlier, like a minor change in an alloy's behavior, engineers can just drastically reduce the number of iterations they need.
So you fail faster.
You fail faster, so you succeed quicker. For alloy development, coating design, and especially for tuning additive manufacturing parameters, which is notoriously difficult, that shorter feedback loop just slashes your time to market.
And what about that global supply chain point? This has to be a massive risk reducer.
It is. It moves validation from being reactive to proactive. Incoming material from a new vendor gets authenticated in minutes. You're not just checking the main chemistry, you're looking for those unexpected trace elements.
So you're improving supply chain resilience and cutting the risk of bad stock getting into the system.
Which is critical for preventing those costly and, frankly, dangerous recalls down the road.
And at the end of the day, all of this high-res analysis leads to the most important metric in aerospace: higher yield and fewer catastrophic failures.
That's the net result, because you're finding these localized problems, tiny coating defects, little inclusions, contamination signals at the microscale. You catch them before they become expensive production failures. Or worse, field risks that put lives in danger. It is the ultimate predictive quality control.
And finally, compliance. Aerospace is arguably the most regulated manufacturing sector in the world. It demands bulletproof documentation for every single part.
And the system delivers exactly that. Because the quantification is so solid and the process is standardized, it provides quantitative, archival-grade data that's specifically designed to support those stringent documentation and audit requirements. That kind of regulatory confidence it's invaluable.
So it's a tool that works everywhere from early R&D all the way to final production and even failure analysis.
Yes, it really is.
It really sounds like this shift from macro-scale destructive analysis to this non-destructive micro-scale certainty. It isn't just an upgrade in tools. It's a fundamental change in how the industry approaches risk and maybe even how it approaches design itself.
It is, and a sector defined by zero tolerance for error. Elevating your material's confidence gives you a measurable strategic advantage. It just cascades across the board: R&D, manufacturing, supply chain. It's all about bringing clarity and certainty to this profound material complexity.
That is a brilliant way to put it. We started with the complexity of next-gen materials, the pressures of globalization and sustainability, and we've detailed how this ultra-precise, non-destructive analysis gives engineers the certainty they need to innovate faster and maintain ironclad safety.
the ability to quantitatively analyze these microstructural gradients without destroying the part. It fundamentally removes a huge technical roadblock that engineers have been running into for decades.
Which brings us to our final thought for you to consider. Given this new level of non-destructive, high-resolution certainty we've talked about, data down to those 5 to 10 micrometers, what previously unknown or just inaccessible material properties in these high-value components will now become standard, everyday data points? And how will that fundamental shift in what we know alter the future design constraints for everything from lightweight commercial aircraft to the next generation of deep space spacecraft?